was a head growing out of this woman's floor, and he's told he needs to keep the walls moist. They find the doctor in their bed. Hi, it's Taxi. I wrapped myself in a blanket because it's actually kind of cold in here and I couldn't be bothered to go get a cardigan or anything because I just wanted to start this video off before I go to the store. So I kind of decided on a whim that I wanted to do a reading vlog because I just started this book the other night and turns out it's really good. Like, it's a short story collection and I've only read the first 3 stories so far, and there's actually quite a few because they're really short. There's like 15 stories in this book in total and I've only read the first 3 so far and they've been so freaking good. I wanted to do a whole vlog dedicated to this little book. It's not even that thick, but like the stories are really short. The first one was like 30 pages, but the ones after that have been like less than 10 pages. I think I'm gonna get through this pretty quickly, which is nice. Helps me get out of my slump, because all I've been reading lately is audiobooks. This is an exception. These are kind of like stories just about, at least so far they've been like stories about women with some weird sci-fi twist in every story, and they've been like super weird and I love it. I heard about this book from Books and Lala. She read it in one of her videos and definitely got me intrigued. So I had to get this as well, and I really can't go wrong with the weird book recommendations from her, it seems, because like I also loved Bunny and couple of other books that she has recommended as well. So clearly we share a taste in strange stuff. I'm not sure I can really talk about this without spoiling the stories a tiny bit at least. Since they are so short, it's hard to kinda even explain the story quickly without explaining the whole thing. But I'm gonna talk about them anyway. You can decide if you want to listen to me or not. So the first story was called Out There. And it's about this woman who decides to join a bunch of dating apps, stuff like Tinder and whatever there are, even though apparently in these stories world the apps are full of these things called bots that are like artificial men that basically are just made to scam women, like steal their credit card info and stuff like that, and then once they have done that they just evaporate, disappear. It was super interesting because she like starts dating an actual human and then turns out she's really just kind of unhappy in that relationship, and she finds herself like hoping she was dating a bot simply because they are designed to be so attentive and like really good dates. It's really interesting, just the concept. And I enjoyed it. And then the next story was The Last Woman on Earth, and this is probably my favorite so far because it was only 5 pages and it had me immediately hooked, like, oh shit, this is so good. So it's about, as the title says, the last woman on Earth, and she's like this totally average person, and because she's the last woman, that puts her into kind of a celebrity status, and she's not happy about that. She's kind of stuck hosting this talk show where she chats with men about stuff, mostly about how they miss women, and then also men are unhappy that she's the last one. After she dies, it's just like then in an X amount of years humanity dies out and the last man is super bitter because he didn't get to be famous because everyone is dead. 5 pages and somehow it was just that good. I don't know even how to explain it. And then the third story that I read last night is called Heartsick Brain. This definitely went all the way to the weird territory. The premise of the story is just these 2 women chatting about stuff like dating, but the twist is that instead of people being attracted to like the way other people look, like on the outside, everyone instead is attracted to internal organs. Like someone could be like into kidneys or lungs, or you can go on. It was so weird. Again, it's in this context of, yeah, this is a totally normal thing and everyone is like this. It's nothing weird, except when you are reading it, you're like, Yeah, this is really weird. Like, yeah. I like how they are these, like, especially the first story and the third one, they were like, they could be totally normal situations, except they aren't, because there's this super strange twist to both of them. I'm excited to see what the rest of the stories are like. So I'll get back to you. Just gotta go do some other stuff now. Like buy some yarn because I'm still working on the baby blanket and I'm this close to being done. But I ran out of the white yarn last night, so I have to go buy some more. Yeah, see you on another update. Just wanted to update that I finished the blanket that I was making in the DIY video. I'm really happy with how it turned out. It looks very cute, and my sister liked it too. I read another story the other night, and that was just a little bit terrifying. It was basically about this void that was consuming everything. It was like consuming the world, I guess, kind of a black hole situation. And this one woman was trying to escape it as long as she could because she didn't believe there would be any kind of afterlife waiting like some people believed. And the story was called The Void Wife because some people believed that if you were touching someone at the moment the void consumed you, you would be with them for eternity. And she didn't want to be one with this dude that she had got stuck with because he had a boat. Oh yeah, totally off topic. Look what I got. I wasn't going to get this until Christmas, but then some stuff started actually going well for once, so I decided to treat myself. So I've got some Dad of Boy to play. You can't really see what I'm doing, but I thought I'd try and clean my makeup brushes while I chat about the book. Because we are going to a Christmas party on Saturday. Basically, I have barely touched my makeup brushes in months and they've just been on my desk, so they are literally dusty. So I really need to clean them if I want to use them. Because I learned the hard way that otherwise I'll end up with an eye infection. So I got this Beauty Blender Cleanser Liquid Charcoal Unscented Sponge and Brush Cleanser. So let's hope I get this clean. I haven't counted how many stories I've read so far, but I'm on like page 84 in the book now. Yeah, I think the common theme with the book so far is that all the stories are about unhappy women. Oh, this is foamy. Look, I'm just like cleaning these in some bowls of water, but I'll like actually rinse them at the sink once I'm done. Yeah, let's see, what stories have I not talked about it? Well, there was one of the stories was called Shelter, and there was this woman who basically was stuck at her home because her boyfriend or husband had wanted to basically move to the middle of nowhere, and she was working from home and she was really bored, and they had this, I guess, tornado shelter in their house, and one day the door just didn't open. It got like stuck and she got really obsessed with it. Eventually she broke in there and she found that like a really satisfying moment. Finally she like requested this dude come in and like fix the hole in the wall that she had made to enter the shelter, and without the guy knowing she had locked herself in there because it was so nice to be in there and she hoped no one would find her. That was grim, to say the least. That was also probably the most normal of all the stories so far because there was no real sci-fi twist. It was just that the door was locked and she didn't know why, and then she decided to crawl in there. The story I read last night was a nice weird one though. It was a head in the floor and it's exactly as it says in the title. There was a head growing out of this woman's floor and no one really knew why, and it didn't grow beyond like the eyes, so there was just this half a head staring at her from the floor, and once it stopped growing they just covered it up with a towel and went on with their day. It was so weird. It was one of those really short ones, and I'm finding that I like the short ones the best actually. They have like packaged this really weird story into just like maybe 10 pages and it just works so well. It's so good. Yeah, I'm really liking Out There as a whole a lot, so I pretty much can confirm it's going to be a 5-star read unless the last stories really suck or something. Oh, what else have I been doing? Yeah, I started the God of War Ragnarok and I'm liking it so far. I know a lot of people have complained about the whole NPCs yelling instructions at you like immediately instead of letting you try at first, but I'm not really bothered by that because I'm stupid. So I really need the instructions right away or I just won't figure out some puzzles ever. Or it will take me like way more time than it would maybe for someone who isn't as slow at picking up environmental clues. Yeah, I need to do a little before and after because this is bad. I mean, look at that difference. Pretty damn good. Just wanted to update that I've been making some pretty okay progress with the book. There's been some good stories and there's been some okay stories. I'm just sitting on the floor because Tiamat is having a bath. Are you comfy in the warm water? The dragon is clean, so I thought I'd actually sit down and talk about the stories that I have read since my previous update, because there's been quite a few. I feel like I've talked about the head in the floor, and then there's Tahoe. Oh yeah, I have definitely not talked about this one. This was one of the shorter ones. This was basically just someone trying to recount a trip or like a bachelor party where someone got killed and then turns out she really doesn't remember the events correctly at all and you are kind of left wondering what actually happened and when. So I like that one. Then there was the Bone Ward, which was actually pretty interesting, even though it was a longer one, but it was one of those really weird ones. So I liked it anyway, even though the longer ones have usually kind of been a bit more in the okay category than like really good category, but the Bone Ward was good. So it's about these people who have this disease where their bones melt away at night. So they're all in this hospital ward where they're being treated. Narrator character is like the only woman there, and then a new woman joins and her condition is even more serious than the characters have seen before. And obviously all the men really like her because she's really pretty and nice, and the main character is jealous and stuff happens and things don't end well. It's a real body horror moment when you think about it. The next story was Doe Eyes, which was a bit more just okay. It was like the whole story was about this woman basically trying to get shot on purpose because she was hoping that her getting injured would get her ex-husband's attention and just, I guess, make deer hunters not want to hunt in the forest near her home. It was just it wasn't that strange. She was just really self-destructive. The next one was The House's Beating Heart, and that was a strange one. Of course, I liked it because of that. So basically, it was about the students living in this house that it had a heart that was beating, and turns out it had a bunch of other totally functioning organs as well. They start poking about the house, and the house isn't very okay after that, and well, they end up house food. This was a really short one, so that's probably what made it good. It was only like 4 pages. I don't know, something this author just does really well is take these really weird concepts and then condense them into like 4 to 5 page story, and it just has full impact despite it being so short, and I just love it. The next one was A Scale Model of Gull Point, and this was about this woman who basically won a trip to this place that had like a reputation of being like Vegas but worse, and all the employees there were being treated really awfully, and then that whole thing escalates while she's there and she ends up being trapped at the top of this skyscraper for weeks, and she just builds like a scale model of the place, Gull Point. Eventually she just doesn't want to leave until the whole thing is finished because she doesn't want to go back to her normal life for whatever reason. I feel like the common theme with all of this is just that they're about unhappy women who deal with their situations in really questionable ways. Gull Point one was definitely one of those. The last one that I read last night was Dating a Somnambulist, however you pronounce that actually. And that was about this couple where the man is a sleepwalker and the woman keeps waking up with more and more bizarre things in bed with them. Like it starts as like random objects and then they take him to see a doctor and then like the next morning they find the doctor in their bed because the husband has kidnapped him, and it kept getting more and more absurd, like these things that physically shouldn't be possible to bring home, sleepwalking or not. I really liked it. It was just so... it just kept getting weirder and weirder, and that made it fun. And at the end the woman is just like, well, it could be worse. He could be snoring really loudly. Yeah, looks like I have only 3 more stories left. I guess I'll be finishing this soon. So I finished the book a few days ago, and as I expected, it was really good from beginning to end. So I'm so glad I kinda impulse bought this originally, just on a hunch, because it sounded good based on like Books and Lala's description. Let's go through the last 3 stories that we haven't talked about yet. So the last ones were Moist House, The Turkey Rumble, and Big Sur. And Big Sur is actually a reference to the first story in the book, so it kinda nicely wraps things up with something that's already familiar. Moist House was a strange one. The title is pretty self-explanatory. So this dude moves into this house and he's told he needs to keep the walls moist, which is weird because usually you don't want that in a house. And then I guess he kind of becomes, I don't know, addicted or just kind of enchanted by the house, and he just can't stop. He needs to keep putting lotion on the walls even though it's putting him in debt, and he just forgets about everything else going on in his life. It is kind of a sad story because obviously it doesn't end well for him. Yeah, this was the first story with a male protagonist too. Actually, both Moist House and Turkey Rumble are male protagonists, so that's like a small change from like all of the rest of the book. Turkey Rumble was a pretty quick one. So that one was about a gay couple who was going to visit the other dude's family for, I think it was Thanksgiving. Yeah, it has to be Thanksgiving since it's like a turkey thing. And the boyfriend tells the main character that they have this thing called the Turkey Rumble where it's like Secret Santa except everyone's assigned a person they need to injure somehow. That's as fucked up as it sounds. Then they go home to the main character's family for Christmas, and there's a darker twist to that, I think. Who knows, since it's kinda left up to interpretation, but it sounded it was gonna end dark. And then we have Big Sur, which was a pretty long one. And as I mentioned, it was directly related to the first story out there, so it's also about the plots. This time it's about plots before they became common knowledge. And actually this story had 2 narrators. One is a girl who ends up dating a plot, and the other is the plot. I don't know. I really like this story because of the 2 perspectives, because the plot dude is so awkward and like he's not aware why he's doing what he's doing, so it kind of makes it sound even more messed up. He kind of reminded me of Connor from Detroit Become Human, except he's way more clueless. In a way it was really sweet and also a little sad, because when the plots are exposed, this plot ends up becoming homeless because he hasn't completed his mission, so he's useless, and you just feel bad for him, and they kind of end up having some kind of weird bond with the woman who he was supposed to scam. And I really liked it. Like, this managed to draw some emotion out of me, which was nice. So it was a good ending to the whole book. So yeah, this was a 5 out of 5 just as a whole. Definitely glad I read it, and if you like something that's a little weird, I definitely recommend this one. I hope you like this little reading vlog. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye! Tiamat was listening to me filming so intently. Hi, cutie.